Hey, this is Jordan from Jersey, and this is what I thought of the comics I read the week of February 10th, 2010. The week of the huge snowstorm in New Jersey, which means I didn't get my comics till today, which is the following Friday. Now, being as it's cold, and being as I didn't get my comics, there was two things I really wanted to do today. One was read my comics, which I did, and the other was alcohol. I wanted to indulge in the generous helping of alcohol. So I figured, well, why don't I combine the two when I review the comics for this week? So, I have a bottle of cheap and awful rum. This stuff is terrible. I won't be buying it again, but it was very cheap. Should have probably clued me in. And I figure, one comic, one shot, another comic, another shot, and it can't help. Or hurt. And I haven't even drank any yet. That was just me flubbing a line. So, let's get started. And as a note to everyone watching, please always drink responsibly. So our first comic of the day is The Amazing Spider-Man presents Jackpot, issue 2 of 3. Nostrovia. You know, the bottle says smooth, but it is anything but smooth. The bottle's kind of smooth, but just not the rum. It's awful, and I'm a rum guy. So what was to like about issue 2 of Jackpot? The dialogue. I thought the dialogue was very funny. Yeah, Spider-Man, Jackpot going back and forth. They both had some good one-liners, and that was pretty fun. Also, I still like Jackpot's costume, which appears to be purple and red, according to this cover. Last time it looked more black and red. It looks more black and red this issue, but whatever. What's not to like? I don't really care about the plot at all. It's kind of the second origin of this character. Some pretty major things happen to the character in this issue, and in the end, I don't care. Hopefully issue 3 gives me a reason to, beyond just, things that happened in this issue. You get your kind of Uncle Ben-ish moment, not to give anything away, but whatever. Hopefully by issue 3 I go, oh, that was really cool, and I'd read another Jackpot series. As of this, though, I'll finish this one out, and if it stays at this level, I don't really plan on going on to the next one. Next up, we have a brand new comic that I'll be reviewing, and that is Human Target, number 1 of 6. And yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. That's a DC comic, and I loved it. Salute. So if you're not familiar with Human Target at all, it's an old DC comic series that was later made a Vertigo series, I believe. I'm not totally clear on the history, but it involved kind of a chameleon-like character, like Chameleon from Spider-Man, who disguises himself as different people, but he does it to protect anyone who hires him. If your life is in danger, you hire him, he disguises himself as you, and then when people try to kill you, they end up trying to kill him, and then he kills them. I think that's basically the idea. And now Fox has turned it into a television show. A television show I think is quite fun, actually. It's a procedural. There's no disguising. It's just he's basically a super-duper bodyguard who's incredibly intelligent and likes to beat people over the heads with things, and that's awesome. So playing the protagonist, Christopher Chance, we have Mark Valley, who you might have seen on Season 1 of Fringe. And we've got 2 supporting roles, one by Chi McBride, or Chi McBride. I don't know. I apologize. He's awesome, though. And the reason I came to the show in the first place, Jackie Earle Haley as Guerrero. If you like Jackie Earle Haley in Little Children, which is a disturbing movie but very well made, Watchmen, which he was awesome as Rorschach, which is kind of why I got into the actor, who I once again think is incredible. I think everything he does is oh so awesome. Or you might have seen him back in the old Bad News Bears movie, or back in that day. So he plays an awesome character named Guerrero, who will kick you to the curb while spouting awesome one-liners. And yeah, really, all the main characters of the show are awesome, and you should check it out. If you like the show, check out this comic. If you haven't seen the show, check out this comic, and you'll probably want to go see the show. It really feels just like an episode. It's got the same tone. I mean, you can have, someone draw characters who look kind of like the characters. You can, give them the same names and have similar storylines. But to get the tone, I think, is really difficult. And this series really does have the same tone and feel of the TV show. So I will be sticking with this at least for the first 6 issues, because it's a 6-issue miniseries. Hopefully it goes on after that, and I'll be reviewing it every week. Cheers. Next up, we have The Amazing Spider-Man issue 620, with an awesome Marcos Martin cover and Marcos Martin interiors. His art continues to be awesome. Really is the best thing about this 3-issue arc. This is the final issue of that 3-issue arc, and I kind of feel meh about it. It was okay, don't get me wrong. There's nothing bad about it, but since issue 611, which was the Deadpool issue, we've had some really, really good arcs, and so this one was just kind of average. I thought the ending was very good. The art was amazing. Marcos Martin's layouts and just dynamic poses and everything continues to be just incredible. The writing was fine. I just, it's Mysterio. I'm not a huge Mysterio guy, even with his new costume. And, so whatever. The ending was good, though. We get to see Chameleon. I mentioned Chameleon back when I was talking about Human Target. We got to see him in here as well. And that kind of tied it into the overall Gauntlet storyline. And apparently we will see Mysterio again once all the super-duper supervillains come back with a vengeance. I'm guessing in the next 20 or so issues, which is only, a couple months. But, yeah, I can't wait. Because even though I'm not a huge Mysterio guy, they used him well. And, yeah, Gauntlet's going pretty well so far. This arc was just kind of average, though. But the other ones before this, they were good. And finally this week we have Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game Command School issue 5 of 5, which will round out the Ender's Game Duel miniseries. Prost. That stuff's awful. So I've thought that Ender's Game, both miniseries, plus Ender's Shadow, both miniseries, have been awesome. And I can't wait for the final issue of Ender's Shadow Command School next week, 2 weeks from now. But I think how this issue plays out will depend on whether or not you've ever read Ender's Game before. I have. I've read the book, thought the book was great. So I knew the ending. And for that reason, I wasn't blown away by the ending in the comic. Now, that's not really a slam on it, because I think it'll still come over very well for people who haven't read the book, and they might like the ending quite a bit in the comic. But here's the thing. The art's awesome. The art is great. I think they relied too heavily on the art for the climax of the story. There's the huge battle in space, and several pages they're beautiful. I mean, the art is wonderful in this series, don't get me wrong. But when that whole battle is told with almost no word balloons, you don't really get the full effect, I don't think, and you can in some stories. I think this is one story where you really needed some exposition. And then the comic, I thought I had several more pages, and then it just ended and went into a X-Force, I think? X Factor Forever preview, which I don't want, but beyond that, it was just like, oh, it's just over? And to me, I thought there should have been at least 5 or 6 more pages just of the ramifications of what had just happened. Without that, I don't think you can really get the full effect of what actually happened in the issue. And maybe that's better left to the reader to just grapple with themselves. I don't know. I would have preferred more of the characters discussing, hey, we just did something crazy. How do you feel about that? And not just be like, oh, I felt this way, issue ending. And it is a great series. If you've never read it, I think you should. However, I think the book, which granted it's been a few years since I've read, but I think it handled the ending better. What can you do? So that's what I thought of the comics I read the week of February 10th, 2010. Have a good week. And one more for the road to your health. Oh, this is terrible rum. Stick with Sailor Jerry's, folks. It's much better and made in Jersey. Or it used to be. I'm not really sure. Whatever. It's got a Holy Girl on the bottle, so that's kind of awesome.